I'd like to call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District to order. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Bree, are you prepared? Would you be able to read the board priorities? I'll defer to you today.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. The Davenport Community School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students, provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty upon our students, their families, and our community. Mission statement: enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. Vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you very much for that. Superintendent Sneckloff, would you please read the goals?
Yes, you did the job of 3 people. Thank you very much for doing that. We're focusing tonight on goal number 3, and it is the expectation of the board that district finance issues are resolved and that staff will continue to keep the district in compliance with state reporting and mandates in terms of finance.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We will hold public hearing for item 201. May I have a motion?
Madam President.
Director Beck?
Sorry.
I've got the motions down in action items.
Yeah,
This is just
I don't think it's.
Okay, thank you.
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say.
Right now, we'll conduct the hearing on the 2021-22 budget amendment. A copy of the amendment was published in the Quad City Times on March 24, 2022. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 563-445-5001 and enter the conference ID number 4960350 and state your name and address for the record. Seeing as none, I will declare the public hearing closed. The next one is for a public hearing, item number 202, for the budget adoption for fiscal year 2023. I will conduct the public hearing on the fiscal year 2023 budget. A copy of the proposed budget summary for fiscal year 22-23 was published in the Quad City Times on March 26, 2022. Anyone wishing to speak on the item, please step forward to the microphone or call 563-445-5001 and enter the conference ID 4960350. State your name and address for the record. Seeing as none, I will declare the public hearing closed. I'll turn presentations over to Superintendent Sneckloff.
Thank you, Vice President. And also as a reminder, I believe President Goza is online traveling to Wichita for work.
Correct.
Okay. President Goza, if you could see this room, you'd be smiling from ear to ear. It's full of families and students that we're incredibly proud of. I call up to the microphone District Athletic Director Garrett. Garrett, thank you for being here today. He's not feeling the best, but he wanted to be here with us so we can call out our student athletes and our parents that are associated with them. I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. We know how difficult it is to travel to the wrestling tournaments and things that are in Des Moines and all across the state, and your dedication it does not go unnoticed, and we thank you so much our student athletes, we're incredibly proud of you. And to see this room full of students, it really does fill the buckets of the board. Your community are incredibly proud of you. The things that we are learning on social media, it is so fun to follow all of you on social media and the accolades that you get and be in person and watch the incredible accomplishments that you receive. And so on behalf of the school board, we're incredibly proud of you, incredibly proud of the accomplishments that you have received this year and your efforts that you've put forth. Being a part of a competition, being a part of a team, being a part of an individual sport only makes you better at everything that you do that you can apply. And as I look across this room, I've seen many faces in gyms and different arenas all across the district, and I'm incredibly proud of each and every one of you. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Garrett. Garrett, thank you so much for preparing this for us tonight. And at the end, we will take a picture. If you're comfortable, we'll come up here. The board likes to get a picture, and we like to post it of our student athletes and coaches. And so please, if you're willing, we'd like to get a picture afterward with you. So thank you, Garrett, for coming tonight despite not feeling the best. So thank you.
Yep. All right, thank you. And this is one of the evenings that obviously you don't want to miss to recognize students. First of all, I'd like to also thank parents. The time to get to where your children are at this point with the recognition and awards and achievements they've made, traveling, getting them to practice, all the hours that you spend in a gym or wherever it may be on a field. You know, I go through that, so I honestly know the hours that go into this with your children, so we greatly appreciate your effort and the values that you instill in your children to get to this point. What we'd like to do is, I'm just going to go alphabetically through the high schools and start with Central. And we have a couple coaches from each school that I know that were able to make it with students. There is a track meet, so I know we're missing some people. And on the PDF, is that going to be it? Yep. Each school will have a list of all conference that will be posted on the screens for you to see. And as some of these all conference student athletes, they're also recognized for all district, all state, and then state qualifiers. And if we could have, when I call the coach up, if your team could come up with you, and I think what we'll do is use the other microphone for the coaches and teams. For the coaches to say a few words about the teams. The first group I'd like to recognize is the boys bowling team that were state qualifiers from Central High School with Coach Nord.
So, Coach, you can
wanna
go
use
ahead
that microphone right
and, sit right there, that microphone, and then talk about each one of your guys. You guys can stand right behind your coach. That'd be fantastic. And, Coach, if you hit this button right here, that'll turn green and it'll broadcast you to the world.
Yippee.
Because we are on YouTube if you want to go back and watch this.
Okay, tonight I have with me my senior captain, Nate Hellstrom, junior captain, Gage McAllister. I have Ethan Hunt, Darian Hellstrom, and Brady Krager. A year ago, Brady was the state record holder at state. This year, the format was different, so he's got a record now that can't be broken because they changed the format.
That's awesome.
Excellent. You guys have anything that you would like to say about your accomplishments here?
Plan to do it again.
There it is. Well, thank you very much, Coach. Much appreciated. And stick around. We want to get a picture.
The next group I'd like to have come up is the girls bowling team from Central and Coach Wendy Allen. Before I let Coach Allen speak about the amazing year they had, I would also like to recognize her as being the Iowa State Coach of the Year. So congratulations.
All right. So with me, I have Carly Allen, who was one of my captains this year. McKenna Osterhaus, a captain this year. Liz Campbell, Emma Phelps, and Riley Allen, who is also one of our captains. So, as you can see up there, Zoe and Crystal are not here today, but Carly, yes, she made first team MAC. McKenna was second team MAC. And then with the all district and all state, Carly was second for both of those. She did qualify to bowl at the individual level of state. She was actually in Florida with the dance team at that time, so she didn't get to go to that. But like I said, we came together as a team, and she actually threw that winning shot. So congratulations, Carly. Other than that, like I said, it's been a great year this year. These girls pulled it together, and we had a great season. So thanks for inviting us to this too. It's great.
It's our thrill.
I think it needs to be mentioned that they are the team state champions.
What's
That state champions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the state championship
Yeah.
team right here.
Yes.
Oh, and that last little
Yeah.
detail.
And also, we did find out, they did announce it at Central that we didn't know, but I had Matt Koss. He interviewed me and did some digging and stuff like that. And these girls were the first team to win a state title since 2007 at Central. Yeah. So.
Well done. Well done.
Anybody want to say anything? No, they're all shy. They don't want to say anything. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, before you get started with your next group, just wanted to acknowledge we were having some difficulties, and President Gosa is now on with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The last group, and I know they're not here. I think it's partly because of the track meet, but the boys swim team finished 13th at state for Central. Coach Heller couldn't make it, but I did want to recognize that they placed 13th at the state boys meet also. So congratulations to Central High School for all of your accomplishments and all of the all-conference place winners and honorable mentions for Central. So congratulations. Next, we'll move on to North, and I would like to start with the boys bowling team and Coach Strouth. If you could come up and bring up the team.
It was green.
Green.
I only got two guys with me today, both Adam Reed and Nate Martinez. Nate was the captain this year. Both these guys bowled extremely well. We qualified to go to state. We went to state. We bowled well at state, qualified second to go into the finals. Didn't have the best showing then. Came down to a best of 5 match. We went 3-2 with them. It was close and just came up a little short at the end, but it was a great year all around. We were undefeated in the MAC, MAC conference champions. The guys bowled great all year. These two are both juniors now that come back next year for one more year, so still got a little bit left for them. So, but other than that, we had a great year again.
Thank you.
You guys want to say anything? Yeah, I figured that. Kids are always a little shy. But I'd like to thank everybody for inviting us too. It's an honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Next, I'd like to invite up the wrestling coach from North, Coach Connor, and the wrestlers that he has here in attendance.
Is it on? Yep. All right. Well, I'm Jake Connor. I'm the head wrestling coach at Davenport North. I got two guys with me today. I got our senior, Cade Sheedy, and a junior, Jeffrey West. They both qualified for state. They both won multiple tournaments this year. Cade's season was kind of broke up with an injury. He was ranked as high as 6th, and then that injury kind of took him out, but he still made a state, got one victory up there. Jeffrey won lots of tournaments, did really well this year. Just great kids. Jacob's not here tonight. He had to work. Just kids that you want to be around all the time, kids you know are going to be successful in the future, and they did great stuff for our program. Anything else? You guys got anything to say? You good? No, please.
Shoot for higher next year.
There you go.
Good job, Jeffrey.
All right, congratulations to North High School, and next we will move to West High School, and I would like to invite the cheer coach, Coach Corman, up.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Corman. I'm a math teacher and cheer coach at West. With me today, I have McKenna Burt, sophomore, Claire Westerhoff, senior, and Peyton Flynn, senior. The Davenport West cheerleaders competed and placed first in the co-ed cheerleading division at the Triton Challenge cheerleading competition. It was on October 24th at Iowa Central Community College in Fort Dodge. They also competed and placed first in the co-ed cheer dance division at the Iowa High School State Cheerleading Championships. That was on November 6th at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines. And this is the 9th state championship title in competitive co-ed cheerleading that the Davenport West cheerleading program has brought home to Davenport West High School. I just want to say congratulations to all of my cheerleaders on all of their hard work and their accomplishments throughout the competitive cheer season this year. And I have 10 girls that were on our state competition team that are not here tonight, and they're named up above if you guys want to look at those. Do you guys want to say anything?
Well, we went through a lot in a very short amount of time, and somehow we still pulled it off at Triton and State, so I'm just really proud of all of us.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, next I'd like to bring up the West dance team, and Coach Zuss could not be here, so I believe one of the students will be speaking on behalf of the team.
Hi. Unfortunately, our coach, Sam, wasn't able to make it, so I'll be speaking on behalf of her. But I'm Sarah. With me, I have Sophia Iniges, McKenna Burt, Peyton Flynn, Addison Alexiejczyk, and Ariana Plies. December 3rd, we were able to attend state in Des Moines at Wells Fargo Arena, where we placed 9th in lyrical, 5th in pom, and 2nd for kick, which is the first time since 2015. Addison Alexiejczyk, who's a freshman, is our first soloist in his school history to place in the top 10, and she actually received 4th, which is a really big deal, especially as a freshman, so that's really awesome. One of the awards we're really proud of is that we achieved a team GPA of 3.885, and that's the highest in school history. So we're just showing that you can put in the work for athletics and academics and still be successful. So thank you.
Lexi Ajax are going to take over the world if we let them.
All right, next I'd like to bring up Lexi Bell. Is she here? All right. Coach Slichting is actually coaching at a track meet tonight in North Scott, so he could not be here. But we definitely wanted to recognize Lexi. What Lexi doesn't know, since the coach isn't here, she's going to have to make a speech right now. Okay. All right. Just, Coach, said it was, she had a great season. At districts, she rolled a 642 series, so that qualified her for state. So she's also a second team all conference, and he enjoyed coaching her this year. And congratulations. Yep. And the last team from West, I'd like to bring up Coach Weisrock to talk about wrestling for the boys and girls.
Do I have to press this button? Yep. I could have just used my teacher voice. I have 4 of my wrestlers here. My 2 boys were state qualifiers this year. They did a great job for us. They were incredible leaders in the room and really lead by example and just do a great job. My 2 girls wrestled at the end of February in state, in girls state, and both of them were place winners. Naya was 5th, and Jada was 4th. Super proud of the way they conduct themselves academically and athletically. Both of my seniors, Naya and Aiden, are both continuing their wrestling and academic careers in college. Naya's going to Waldorf and on the girls wrestling team, and Aiden's going to wrestle at Cornell in Mount Vernon. Am I right? In Mount Vernon. But super proud of the guys and the girls, and they work hard, and hard work pays off. You guys Aiden, you in? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You. And also, to continue with girls wrestling, the state association has recognized and sanctioned, so girls wrestling will have a separate team next year, starting next year. So we're excited about that also. So it's being sanctioned by the association. So that is a great step forward for girls wrestling. That concludes the 3 high schools. Again, I want to thank the parents, the kids. I know the time and effort that goes into all of this. I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to recognize the kids for their accomplishment and the hard work they put in over the years. So thank you for having us, and we greatly appreciate it.
I got a good camera.
I guess we have to get up now, huh?
All right. You guys have done way more than I have.
Going by Megan's thing, dumpster.
I don't know.
His last name is Weisrock, and that's one of his daughter. And she
So
called
we're
it
gonna
dumb
probably need
stove.
to be as wide as we can.
Yeah. That's a good
And no wider than Coach there, so everybody else has to be inside of there. There you go. There you go. I'll do this.
So for dance team, like specific ways
I
that
don't think
they have like rows per grade. Come on, Brenda, get in there. No, thank you. Well, she's like really good. I meant to tell you that while you. Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know why. One thing I was blessed with. Speaking of Coachella, I had him when I was little. It was nice. I did get him.
Okay, everybody stay right there. Let the families do them and take them.
Good.
Everybody smile, you're gonna be famous. We already are, right?
What's happening?
Let me take a Maya, where's Waldo? Congrats, girl.
With you.
Oh, congrats. Well,
what we need is a step ladder, so that whoever's taking the photos can actually get.
Whoever pins certificates. We need.
Yes. One riser.
There's a huge beyond me.
I'm so proud of myself.
There's a huge pride thing.
Something. We can feel the difference between a meal and a feast, how it's presented. That's right? So we need to do better.
But you know what? That's fun.
That's so much fun.
I want a central bowling shirt. That's really true.
We do need those shirts.
The coaches had those. They look cool, man.
There he is.
Lieutenant Smith's here tonight.
I was looking for John the Man Porter. Well, I think we all know that was pretty awesome. And I say all the time that, there are tough things going on in the world, but to go and compete at the state level and have a 3.8 GPA and continue to rock it, those examples are all across our district, and I'm so fortunate that we get an opportunity to celebrate those. One of the groups that we didn't thank enough probably on the front is our coaches. Each one of those coaches that got up here, they go above and beyond, and the ones that weren't here aren't here because they're coaching track. And so the people that do those types of things for our district are just shaping our young people, and it's very evident that they're doing a fine job. So our second presentation tonight, John Border, our community specialist for the district. I would try and list off the things that John does, but tonight is about community and celebration. John's going to talk to us about the new Growing Excellence Award. I have to give a shout out to Mike at TAG. He has done a great job at putting together what this award looks like. So John, thanks for coming tonight and describing, kind of sticking with the theme of celebrating. This is absolutely something we've done in the past, and we're turning it towards growing excellence. So John, thank you for being with us tonight and giving us a brief presentation on the Growing Excellence Award. Thank you.
My pleasure. As Superintendent Schneckloth said, my name is John Border. I work as Community Education Specialist for Davenport Community Schools, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share our enthusiasm about the inaugural Growing Excellence Award within Davenport Community School District. The Growing Excellence Award formally recognizes people who go above and beyond, as Superintendent Schneckloth just said about our coaches. People that go above and beyond to help our schools continuously improve and grow excellence. Some of you may recall that we formerly had an award called the HUG Award, the Helping Us Grow Award, and I was responsible for that program since about 2010. And in 8 consecutive school years, we issued, I think, cumulatively about 1,000 nominations across the district. So it was a very popular program with our buildings and with our staff. Everyone from teachers to volunteers to students to community partners and organizations that we work with, including...
Well, the last time I saw a HUG Award presentation, it was given to this man back here, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place.
Yes.
Because of what he does.
Richly deserved.
So anyway, sorry
Richly
for the interruption.
deserved. That's okay. It's a worthy interruption. Mr. Nyrink has served us well for many years. So many of you may recall the HUG Award, and obviously all of us recall that for the past 2 school years, because of the pandemic, we've been unable to welcome visitors and volunteers into our schools, and we felt that pain, and our community felt that pain. And so rather than view it as yet another crisis, let's view it as an opportunity. So we decided to kind of reimagine and refresh the award, and we reached out to our friends at TAG Communications, and the idea came through of how about we transition into the Growing Excellence Award. Nothing wrong with the HUG Award at all, but it just seemed like a wonderful opportunity to kind of align ourselves with our theme of growing excellence across the school district. And so our friends at TAG refreshed the certificate that that nominees received, and going forward, they'll receive a lapel pin, much like all of you wear to the board meetings and out in the community. So the program is pretty simple, really. We identify a coordinator in each building that communicates with staff, and nominees are received at the building level. Could be a student, could be a volunteer, could be a staff member, could be a community organization or a business partner that the school works with closely. And each of those folks that are nominated receive a certificate and a pin acknowledging our appreciation for their commitment to our school district. I wanted to say a quick word about the volunteerism part of that too, because I think it's especially important. Currently, we have about 1,200 approved volunteers across our school district. Most of those were applications that were received this year because people were so anxious to get back into our schools and connect with our students and families and support us in our work. I stop and I think about that, and it kind of amazes me. More than 1,000 people were willing to share the treasure of their time. The most valuable thing any of us has is our time, and they're willing to commit that to our schools and to our students. And we should be very grateful for that as a school district. I did want to give a quick shout out to the top 5 schools in our district that have recruited the most volunteers. McKinley Elementary leads the pack with 127 approved volunteers. Eisenhower Elementary comes in a close second at 124. Adams Elementary at 108. Fillmore Elementary School with 78 approved volunteers. And finally, Bluegrass Elementary with 71 approved volunteers. So those schools are kind of our exemplars and our leaders in engaging the community in volunteerism in our schools. That ranges everything from classroom helpers to mentors to field trip chaperones and everything in between. And that doesn't include our partnerships that we have with Junior Achievement and Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Mississippi Valley, for example, that provide us with additional volunteers, and they perform their own background screening using their own resources to help us improve and grow excellence. So I wanted to acknowledge their participation as well. So as you can see in a Growing Excellence Award, we're growing. So it's the season for that here in Iowa. It's a growing season, and there are many hands in the garden helping us do the things that we're doing this year of our comeback, where we're trying to kind of reestablish our excellence in our school district. Here we are, and we need the community to do that. So the Growing Excellence Award is one way in which we all can acknowledge the role that visitors, volunteers play in our school district. And so I'm happy to take any questions, but I would like to formally invite you, if you would like to nominate someone, perhaps a group of students that works with you regularly for a HUG Award. That would be, a Growing Excellence Award. That would be a fine thing. Perhaps there's an organization that you've worked with closely over the past year or two that's been by your side and stuck with you and helped you through these times. And all of our schools are participating, and I'm looking forward to presenting you with a more formal report briefly about the volume of people that were acknowledged and with the Growing Excellence Award. And so at this time, if there's any questions that you'd like me to answer, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Director Beck.
First of all, thank you very much for bringing this to us. This is a great idea. I think sometimes just a little acknowledgement can go a really long way towards helping somebody feel appreciated. I guess my question would be, for sharing this out in the future, will there be like a link on the webpage with, sort of, these are the criteria or the types of things that we recommend for nominations, or the types of people? That's maybe didn't come out right, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
What this is geared for to acknowledge. I think that might be helpful if there's a link or just a something where we can direct people to. But as it is, it sounds like a wonderful opportunity to thank people for what they're doing for us. if it's not, even though we can't necessarily pay them if they're volunteers. So, yeah, thank you.
President Gosa, did you have any questions?
No, I do not. I just wanted to thank John for the presentation, and I think the Growing Excellence Award will be an awesome thing, and I look forward to see who all the recipients are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bree?
I just have a question. You probably already said it, but just in case, are students allowed to like nominate like a staff member, a volunteer, or a teacher? Like, who-
Certainly. Certainly. Contact someone in your school office if you'd like. My contact information is on one of the slides, and I'd be happy to connect you with your building coordinator, and that would be the way to do it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for your presentation, John.
You're welcome.
Our little amen corner.
I'm looking forward to getting a round of applause for policies.
Exactly. Okay, now we'll move on to student board reports.
It looks like Sarah's gonna jump right in and take it.
Okay. At West, right now, the Shaheen Yearbook submitted their book for print Friday, March 8th. They've been working super hard and are excited to share their product of 200 pages that they started just the beginning of the year and were finally able to complete. So we're excited to see that at the end of the year. On March 9th, West hosted Solo Ensemble Contest. It's a very big event that is a great fundraiser for the music department at West. This event includes vocal, band, and orchestra performances. Music students from around our MAC conference have the option of participating in each of those categories and can perform solos, duets, and ensembles. Students prepare their pieces for 2 months ahead of time, and depending on the director, the participants will have private lessons or solely have to use their own time to learn and practice. It's a great overall opportunity to help out and get individualized feedback on how you can improve skills and performance technique. The senior class officers and Senate at West held a coffee revolution stand before school, and we were able to raise over $150 for senior picnic just by selling these drinks to staff and students. It was a great way to allow underclassmen and students who arrive early to purchase drinks that they can't drive to get. The music department also visited Bluegrass Elementary to provide young students with a preview of the musical The Lion King. Students were blown away by the performance, and it was a great way for these students to get involved by viewing parts of the production at their own school.
Just before I get going on what's going on at West, Sarah and I made a Google Drive document, and then it just has some pictures to go along with what we're talking about today. So I shared that with all of you, including you guys over there, in your Google Drive shared with me. So first, for Monroe, a big thank you to Ms. Bohannon and Mr. Driscoll. On Friday, April 1st, Monroe hosted their Quarter 3 incentive for grades 3 through 6 to recognize students for doing the right thing and treating people right. Throughout the quarter, our teachers provide social emotional learning around the building, wide expectations, and students have the opportunity to earn Skybucks. At the end of each quarter, an incentive is held and students are able to purchase a ticket to attend by either having no referrals or buying their ticket with Skybucks. This quarter, students were able to choose between a staff versus students mat ball game or a Lego building challenge. There were a number of staff members from the West region that joined Monroe to support this incentive and make it a fun day for the students, including Sergeant Quick and Officer Lovelady. And this is a great way to show the positive interactions that the SROs have in the buildings. There's some awesome pictures in there. Thank you to Miss Goat, I believe it is, or Gott, from Bluegrass. She's been keeping us updated. Some superstar 8th graders from Walcott came to Bluegrass on March 25th, and they had a little assembly, and they just kind of showed the upcoming students that are coming to middle school what middle school is like, and just kind of prepping them for that, answering any questions they had, and they really had a good experience with that. A little update on the Kenya Water project in the engineering department. It got moved from this summer to January 2023 due to possible political unrest in the country. So it's just best for everybody, just in case. And then also, West High School, for their Conditions for Learning survey, got 58% participation, including the online students, so that meets the 50% state threshold. So that's pretty awesome.
Alrighty, and over at North, we've had a fun few weeks. We just started taking prom court nominations today, so everyone at North is very, very excited for that to be announced at the end of this week, who our court is going to be. And then the Drama Club also performed their spring musical, Anything Goes, on April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, with new drama board elections actually happening last week. And the show went great, and we are very excited to see our new board get formed. And the show choir season, I know we just finished talking about it, but it's actually starting up again. But the show choir season is just starting to rebuild. We have audition workshops tonight, actually. And then we have a pit band or a pit band workshop tomorrow. And it's our first ever in the building, but it will be helping our students and prospective students learn more about how to play in that kind of ensemble, because it's completely different from any other type of band that you may have seen. And so it's just a really great opportunity for all of the fine arts students going on. And then spring sports are also in full swing, no pun intended. And the North boys soccer team is playing against the West team tonight. So while I'm hoping the best for both teams, and I hope they both have fun, I cannot help but saying go Cats. So.
Thank you, ladies, for your reports. Are there any board reports? Director Gordon?
Wednesday night, I had the pleasure of going to the TEDx Youth Conference at Central's Performing Arts Center, and we had 3 current Davenport students who spoke at the TEDx thing, and then 2 former students, also I believe an Augustana grad, and someone who was a senior at Central DeWitt High School. So there was a variety of topics, and there was a theme. I don't remember now what it was. But anyway, all of the students, all of the presenters gave phenomenal speeches. I was particularly impressed with our students, one of whom was a 13-year-old Central High School student who has definitely got a gift of speaking. Also, they all talked about things that were very relevant for biases, implicit and structural biases. One of them even mentioned how the way that our cultural bias plays out into technology, and how she gave a really interesting presentation where she showed that a few years ago, if there was a picture with a white person and a black person in it, Twitter's auto crop would always focus on the white face, no matter who was the more famous of the two, if it was, and so they apparently have done some work to fix that, and now it will let users select who they want it to crop in on. But it just talks about how we don't think about how technology affirms those cultural biases that sometimes we don't even notice we have. All that goes to say that it was really impressive to hear very young people talking about these really important things, and it made me feel very proud of our students and very hopeful for the future generations, and it was a really awesome experience. And I hope that if it comes back here in the future that there's a stronger show of support. So it was awesome.
Director Poston?
Yeah, I attended the Facilities Master Plan meeting March 29th at North High. On April 1st, I attended the West High musical Lion King Jr. And then on April 2nd, attended the North High musical Anything Goes. And both those performances were just absolutely great. I'm so impressed with the talented and dedicated students and staff, and it was very entertaining. Enjoyed it so much.
Okay, I too attended the Anything Goes on Sunday performance, and I do agree it was high school students, but it was all just literally so close to a professional performance. Everyone did an outstanding job. The music was right on point. Everything with it was just done so professionally. I also, last Thursday, I believe it was, went to like almost impromptu band orchestra performance. At the end of it, I spoke to the instructor and I told her this was really good. Why wasn't it on the calendar? And she said the students, they did better when they performed it themselves rather than inviting a lot of individuals out to the performance and getting nervous. So there were student directors, and they broke off into little groups, and each had their little section where they played a song. And one thing that really impressed me with the performance, where there were two groups that played the same piece, one right after the other, totally different. It didn't even sound like the same song, but it just kind of showed from the beginner starting to the more advanced section how differently the same piece could sound when it comes from different groups. So that was something that I'm hoping when they do it again that they would announce it so more people could attend and support it, because it was a really nice performance. Okay, now we will move on to section number 6.01 for open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out the open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it's not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set an amount of time allowing the individual to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negativity on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. To participate virtually, call 563-445-5001 and enter the conference ID number 4960350. We have one open forum right now, and that is coming from Miss Vera Kelly, and we're so glad to see you after such a long time.
So I'm asked just to turn it on.
Yep, hit that button.
First, I want to say I'm just happy to be here. And normally I watch it on the screen, but I thought today I would come in person to let you all know I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to congratulate. I'm so proud that we got our accreditation back. We need that. We don't need Des Moines telling us how to run our business. And I'm just so proud of TJ, Dr. Barney, and Dr. Jakes. These are the three peoples that we congregate with, and they also works along with the NACP. So the reason I came is because to let you know that we, as a community, appreciate what you all do and what you do with our kids. Before the pandemic, I used to volunteer in the schools, so after all that come about, you know, I still see kids at our church, and I tell them, you know, you think you are a man or woman now, but you need advice. And when you get good advice, and what I like about the Davenport Community School District, I've been in it for 56 years. My kids has grown up, they has went to college, and they has really made mama proud. So, you know, if anybody talk about district, I said, no, you don't know the Davenport district, because they are good teachers, they are good counselors and all. I even remember Mr. Potts when he taught my kids science at Sutlo. And, you know, remember TJ when we went to New York to visit Harlem's own school. You know, so it's about working together. And I just thought it would just be nice for me to come today and show my face and let you all know that we appreciate the community do, the churches do, my family do, and Davenport do too, what all of you all do. And if you ever need us, just reach out. You know, you can do things by yourself, but together you can make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind if we take a picture of you?
Huh?
Do you mind?
Take a picture of me.
Listen, I think we should get a picture of the board with the vice president of the NAACP.
That's fine.
All right.
You guys are matching.
All of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of us.
Okay. She's crying. I don't cry. Okay, anyway. You know what's bad with Hung's being
Yeah, literally.
Oh, I got to say that. Hung don't say much. It's up to me.
What was the score?
Cheese.
Mr. Gordon, if I could have you slide over just a little bit closer to Bruce. Thank you. All right, everybody smile. You two are going to be famous. My turn. Hold on.
Get back. Sarah, you're really crying.
It was special. It was really good. Thank you.
President Gosa, we apologize that you missed the opportunity. But Ms. Beer is here and we had to catch her while she's here. Okay, moving right along to item number 7, the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam Vice President,
Director Beck?
I move that the consent agenda be approved as written.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Is any discussion? Okay, seeing as none, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
President Gosa?
Yes.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion passed. I have a motion for approval of bills.
Madam Vice President,
Director Beck?
I move the board approve the following resolution. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of March 23rd, 2022 through April 5th, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Director Beck, second by Director Poston. Call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Gordon,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
President Gosa,
Yes.
and my vote is yes. Motion pass. Superintendent's report.
None at this time.
Any committee reports? No finance? Okay. We will move on to action items. Item number 11.01. Approval of budget amendment. May I have a motion?
Madam Chairwoman,
Director Poston?
I move the board amend the 2021-22 certified budget in the following areas for the following amounts. Instruction, $143,858,356. Total support services, $73,667,989. Non-instructional programs, $11,558,956. And total other expenditures, $24,822,102.
Second. Second.
Been moved by Director Poston and second by Director Klein. Jerome, is there any discussion? Seeing as none, I'll call for the vote. Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Gordon,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
President Gosa.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion pass. May I have a motion for item number 11.02, approval of budget
Madam Chairwoman,
adoption? Director Poston?
I move the board adopt and certify the budget and tax levy rate for the 2022-23 fiscal year as published and presented. The proposed property tax levy rate per $1,000 taxable valuation will be $15.60, and resources and requirements are estimated at $355,856,542.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Poston, second by Director Klein Jerome. Call for the vote. I'm sorry, is there any discussion? Director Beck?
Could I just ask for people watching at home if we could get just a quick, like, one sentence summary of what this means from our finance person?
You bet. Currently, our tax rate is at $15.30, so we're raising the tax levy by 30 cents. It equates to a 1.9% increase in our levy. This will allow us to maintain a healthy unspent budget and maintain our solvency ratio.
And this is not out of historical proportions, correct?
Absolutely not. It's pretty well average. We've been up and down, but it's right in the middle.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion? President Gosa?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Call for the vote. Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
President Gosa?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion pass. May I have a motion for item number 11.03, change order for Adams Tuck?
Madam President,
Director Potts?
I move the board approve the change order for the bi-state masonry in the amount of $184,714 as part of the Adams Gym structural repair project.
A second.
Second.
Been moved by Director Potts, second by Director Klein Jerome. Any discussion?
Josh, how old is this building part?
It's from it's from around 1951, I think.
Okay, thanks.
Director Beck?
I know we haven't had a ton of change orders lately, which I think we all appreciate. But it seems like this change order is fairly significant compared to the original contract. And so I guess my question as somebody who doesn't know construction, and since President Gose is on the phone, can you explain how we end up with something like this that's pretty significant difference from the original proposal?
I sure can. So during the project, they removed the brick facade on the front of the building or on the side of the building, which exposes the inner wall or the structure of the gym itself. There's no way to see behind that brick facade unless you remove it ahead of time and look at it, but typically you wouldn't do that. You'd make the assumption of constructability or how it was built in that time period. Our architects looked at it and made some assumptions about how that was done. When they opened up the wall or took off that facade, they found some structure that wasn't built the way they thought it would typically be built for that time period. So last fall we had a meeting about it. The actual contractor pointed this issue out to us because they didn't think it would be right to leave it be, being that they knew about it. We had a meeting last fall about doing it with a structural steel change instead of what we're proposing now. That recommendation was around like $235,000 for a change order. We came together as a kind of a group and discussed another way to go about it. The masonry contractor pointed out that they could do it another way. So Leggett Architecture, Mark is here right now, went back and with their structural engineer looked at it and said we could do it another way. That brought that cost down another $40,000. And this is kind of where we're at today. There's really an unforeseen thing there behind the wall for us to see it, but we have to fix it in order for the building to stay sound and strong and safe for the kids.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Poston?
Josh, then was the original, was there a mistake made when it was originally built, or was there corners cut, or what happened? I know it's a long time ago, so, but do you have any idea?
It looked to me, or like us, like the whoever the contractor was 70 years ago potentially did it incorrectly or not the way they would typically have done that type of wall. We couldn't exactly find the documents that showed exactly how it was built, but from what we can tell, whoever did it at that time period didn't do it correctly.
President Gose, do you have anything to add?
Well, a little bit. I'm glad you answered those questions. That what Director Poston asked was one of the things I was going to ask about. And then going forward, I'd like to try to figure out a way that we can start making sure that these things are done the way they need to be done, so that we're not, I mean, granted, this was done back in the 50s, so, I mean, we did get quite a bit of use out of it, but now we're spending more money for an unforeseen thing that was done subpar to begin with. So I like to try to look at doing something for future projects to make sure this stuff doesn't happen to us. So, but thanks for doing all the research on it, Josh, and answering those questions.
Not a problem.
Any additional discussion? Director Klein?
Josh, do you worry that there's going to be other buildings in the district that this is the way it was constructed? I mean, because we have a lot of buildings of that age.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible there was other shortcuts taken throughout the district in different spots, but really hard to tell until you're kind of into it. So my hope is we don't have many. I don't hear about many structural cracks like that. I know we've had a building or two we've looked at besides this one with some of the similar issues, but could have been a different contractor, 10 years different, and it might be a completely different issue. So it's really hard to tell until you
it's like peeling the siding off your house and looking behind it, and then you finally see what's going on.
Thank you.
Superintendent Sneckroth?
I think this is to Josh's credit. In his first year, he did building tours and noticed this and wanted to get an engineer over right away. And so I think that's to Josh's credit for finding that. Unfortunately, when you pull back the wall, we sent the pictures to the school board earlier. And so I'm glad we're making it safe for our students. And that was a good spot on your part. I also believe the architectural work that we're doing now with the having the long-range facility plan, the assessments done on each building will help us with that too. I have similar concerns, and they're finding things that we will be able to prioritize that fits our mission. Good question. Thank you.
Anything more? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Thank you so much, Josh. Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
President Gosa?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion pass. Before I turn it over to Director Beck, I do apologize. President Gosa, you didn't give your board report, and I know you really had something special of interest in this, so I don't want you to miss this opportunity.
I would have just reported on it at the next regular meeting. I too got to attend the musical at North. I went Saturday, and we liked it so much. My wife and I went back Sunday. Sat right next to Vice President Hayes to watch it, so right in the front row. So we got a lot of talented kiddos in our district, and just an awesome job by all. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought about your daughter, and I thought, oh, we better go back to that. I missed you. Okay, Director Beck, for policy board approvals.
Yes. So I move that the board approve the following policies. Policy 710.04, meal charges. Policy 801.01, buildings and sites, long-range planning. Policy 801.02, buildings and sites surveys. Policy 801.03, educational specifications for buildings and sites. Policy 801.04, site acquisition. Policy 802.01, maintenance schedule. Policy 802.02, requests for improvements. Policy 802.03, emergency repairs. Policy 802.05, buildings and sites adaptation for persons with disabilities. Policy 802.06, vandalism. Policy 802.07, energy conservation, and Policy 804.04, asbestos-containing material.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on these policies? And again, just want to reiterate that after we've gone over them a few times and they are up for a vote, sometimes there are not a lot of questions on them. So if there are none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Yes.
President Gosa?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion pass. For items for discussion, the math online resources for grades 6 through 8.
Very similar to the online resources that we brought earlier this year. We're in a very similar situation for next year to be proactive with our 6 through 8 resources. Lisa, would you like to give us an update on this that we will be bringing to the board for action at the next regular meeting?
Absolutely. So you'll see a memo attached there There are some links in there that include the costs for us to renew for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for the 22-23 school year. Materials to be able to access our core math resource, which is currently Glencoe Math at those grade levels. The reason why we're bringing this to you now, and this is for July 1, but we want to have time for you to have information, ask any questions, discussion, and take action hopefully at our next board meeting. And the reason why we are doing a 1-year extension is because our pre-K-8 math curriculum review was paused due to COVID 2 years ago. And so the materials that we had expired during the COVID process, and we need to extend them for this coming school year until we get to a final decision on our product for the 23-24 school year.
Director Beck?
So this is what's already being used currently and has been for a while? Or was this a pilot study that was supposed to happen during the pandemic?
It's extending the program or product resources we've been using for many years.
Okay.
Similar to what you approved in February for the elementary schools.
Right. So then this is all under review then over the next year so that we can make a decision on whether to keep it or go to something else in the
Correct.
future. Okay.
Ms. Bree?
I know that we talked about K through 5 the last time, and then now we're doing 6 through 8. Are we going to be seeing something for 9 through 12? Like, I know I don't know anything about curriculum, but it seems that we got the rest of the education figured out. So are we going to see something for 9 through 12?
Not within the next year, no. The focus for the math resources are pre-K-8 at this time.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Do we have a cost estimate on this
For the
extension?
yes. There's a link with where it says the 1
Oh, okay.
year contract extension. I don't want to say the wrong dollar amount off the top of my head. $62,010.12.
Director Gordon?
Not that we wouldn't approve it necessarily, but if we didn't, then what's the plan? If this has already expired, what happens then?
Then our teachers and students would not have access to any of the digital products that accompany the math book at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Is this something that they use on a regular basis? Because I remember in math class, like, we never once did anything online in middle school. And I know that, like, COVID and everything's changed, but, like, still I know for, like, a lot of students doing any sort of math online is very difficult. So is this beneficial, and are we seeing any, like, growth?
I had a similar question asked to me prior to this, and I worked with our math specialist to check in with the junior high principals and math teachers, and I think COVID possibly changed that for many people, and there's quite a bit of resources out there and ways that kids can access and teachers to do the presentations of the lessons and do assessments with students, so that usage has changed. And I wasn't here before, so I'm not sure, but that's the most recent information I have.
Just to, like, clarify, but is it, like, is it helping? Is it benefiting at all, like, with scores and all that? Like, are you seeing an improvement from previous times without it?
We have not seen a lot of improvement in our math scores, which is why we're reviewing our math curriculum and resources this year, which is why this is a 1-year extension.
Director Beck?
Yeah, that was a great set of questions. I would say if we find that very few people are actually taking advantage of this, even after the pandemic, or that students aren't benefiting from it, we might want to reconsider, the type of online programming we have. I don't know how McGraw-Hill sets up their whole curriculum, because I know with some curricula, you kind of have to have some of the online components and the paper components, and I know others are different. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you guys find out this year. Next year.
President Gosa, did you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Is anyone needing any additional information to vote on this next meeting? If so, please check with Lisa so you can get what you're needing. We'll move on to 12.02, policies for board. First discussion, Director Beck.
Yeah, so a lot of these are policies that fall under the purview of basically sort of how we relate to the community. A couple of them have to do with things that Kevin is in charge of. So I'm just going to go in order, and I will highlight the ones where there are some major changes. So our first one is on capital assets, 802.02, 04. This is essentially a template. It's pretty boilerplate, and describes how we value our property. And Kevin, would you like to explain what exactly this does?
Yeah, there's essentially two different types of assets that we're talking about. When we talk capital assets, I think of it as a term of it's over the $5,000 threshold that we capitalize and depreciate. But we also have all kinds of other assets that we tag for identification and tracking for insurance purposes, just for inventory. And that's what this is talking about, is we may tag things that aren't capitalized. So it's important that when we get into all these policies that we remember what is capital and what is an asset.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. We'll bring this one for a second discussion at the next meeting. So our next policy is 803.01, disposition of obsolete equipment. And this one is basically modified to fit our needs. And so you'll notice a lot of information a lot of the text has been changed. So Kevin, would you like to explain sort of how you?
Yeah, the justification of this policy is to make sure that when we dispose of equipment, that we're not just giving it away to our friend, our staff, or whoever. We're trying to have a process where we can sell it on a published website. We use Ion Wave, which is a contract we use to do our bids, but we also do it for selling. We also go to gov.deals, a website that's commonly used by school districts and government entities, colleges. We also will post things that have more than a $5,000 value in our paper locally. Oftentimes when we get rid of vehicles, there'll be local folks. So there's a wide range of more than just local folks that might buy our assets. As we go through these policies, just remember, we're going to have regulations. I always say I live in the regulation world when it comes to these policies in the 700 series. So we're going to be keeping up with regulations to update these. That's why this looks like a major rewrite, but it fits what we actually do. And to keep the integrity of deleting assets and selling assets, that is what is the most important component of this.
And just to emphasize that this is basically because we're a public entity and we use taxpayer dollars, we can't just give away materials. We have to get as much value out of them as we can. So we can't just donate them. Anybody have any questions on this one? Okay. So we'll bring this one for a board second discussion next. The next one is Policy 804.02, District Emergency Operations Plans. This one kind of is not a mandatory policy, but we do have to have some sort of operations plan. And Josh, I know this falls under your purview, and so if you want to, basically it says we'll have an emergency operations plan.
And we have one in place already, so I'm going to look at this one further, but there shouldn't be much needed for change.
Okay. Any questions?
I think in the first line, we need to put in Davenport School District instead of school district name.
I just caught that. We forgot to change that. And we need to make sure it says superintendent or designee without the brackets. So thank you for catching that, Karen. Anything else? Okay. So this will come up for a second discussion at our next regular meeting with those corrections. All right, our next policy is policy 900, principles and objectives for community relations. So this is basically a policy that states that we work with the community and encourage cooperation with community partners. The way this is written, this is a policy just outlining the 900 section. So my recommendation is actually going to be that we don't necessarily need this as a full policy, but I will take comments on that. It's one of those that we may or may not need. And if you don't have any tonight, you can just send them to me later. Director Hayes.
Well, one that I do sort of have, and maybe Superintendent Schneckloff, you can help me with this. Is this something that could be an administrative reg?
Mm-hmm.
We can make an administrative reg out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That would be my only.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. So the next one is policy 901, public examination of school district records. So this outlines, it's a mandatory policy because we do have to allow by law certain types of records to be made available to the public, but this gives us an outline, a framework for when people can request those records, the fact that when it is appropriate, we assess a fee for paper copies and time spent finding the person's time spent finding those records, and that we also have the right, we do not share certain types of items such as our security procedures, our emergency preparedness. When we were talking about our long-range planning and we said building layouts and things like that. So we would not share those with the public. Okay. So moving on, the next one is the policy 902.01, news media relations. This basically is a policy that says that we welcome communication with the news media and that they are encouraged to attend board meetings, but media inquiries should be directed towards the superintendent and not board members or other staff members. Okay. Policy 902.02 is on news conferences and interviews. This again is a policy that essentially follows what we are doing already, that the superintendent will hold news conferences or respond to requests for interviews, and that the board is at least made aware of when there are conferences and other types of interviews that are prearranged. Okay. The next one is policy 902.03 on news releases. This is basically that the superintendent will determine when a news release about internal school district and board matters will be issued, and it will be in the best interest of transparency with the community. Yes.
Where it says further, the superintendent will strive to create and maintain a positive image for the school district. Maybe just add and transparent so it doesn't seem like everything's just positive, because not everything's positive. I don't know if that's like legal or whatever, but I don't know. When I thought of it, I thought of the word like transparent, because yeah, it might be positive. There's also like some negative things, but you just have to be honest and open about it.
Okay, so maybe think about whether we want to keep that word positive
Yeah,
in there.
keep it there and then just say like positive and transparent. I don't
Okay. Okay. We'll make a note to make those adjustments. Anything else? Okay. So the next one is policy 902.04 on live broadcast and recording. And this is basically a policy that we broadcast our, that people may broadcast or record public events that are already open to the public as long as it doesn't interfere with or disrupt the activity. And that the superintendent has the discretion to determine whether the request is not able to be fulfilled, and that classrooms are generally not recorded unless certain policies or processes have been followed, correct? And it basically follows what we already do. Okay. The next one is policy 903.01 on school community groups. This one is basically, we have adopted the statement that when groups raise funds, like the Booster Club or parent-teacher organizations, that we're happy to work with them, but monies that are raised by them are not kept in school district accounts. They are kept in their own accounts. That's the main crux of this. And that the principal is the liaison between those groups. Okay. The next one is policy 903.02, community resource persons and volunteers, which we actually just heard about earlier. So this is basically just a policy that says we are happy to have volunteers and other people as long as they are held to particular standards, background checks, and things like that, and that the superintendent or designee is in charge of making sure that the insurance and records and training and all that kind of stuff are up to snuff. Okay. The next one is policy, where am I? Sorry. 903.03. This is visitors to school district buildings and sites. This one is one that the policy committee thought was quite necessary, but that our only modification was that we wanted to make sure that anybody who visits is in touch with the principal before walking in. And the way we have our buildings set up, people can't just walk in anyway, or they shouldn't be able to. But this basically sticks with what we're already doing in terms of visitors. Okay. All right, the next one is 903.04, public conduct on school premises. Basically, this is just a policy that says people can be asked to leave if they are disorderly, abusive, verbally or physically, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and follows practices that we already follow. Okay. The next one is policy 903.05, distribution of materials. Basically, this policy is meant to say that people cannot just distribute non-curricular materials without approval from the superintendent or designee. And there are certain standards that have to be met. So these are materials that don't relate to the school. Or to the curriculum, I should say. Okay? The next one is policy 904.01, transporting students in private vehicles. Basically, this does happen, but with permission from a parent. And so we've updated the language to meet what we need. Yes, Sarah.
We've been really struggling with transportation lately at West. For example, we've been having to leave class at 2:20 for like a meet that occurs at 4 o'clock at Assumption, just because we can't get like busing and stuff. And recently we had a tennis meet last Thursday where we got on the bus at 2:20 for a meet at 4, and we didn't hear that it was canceled from the other school until we arrived at Assumption, but the bus had already dropped us off. So by the time we like called our school back, like there was no one to come pick us up. And because of the parent rule that they can only take their own children, we weren't able to get anyone to take us back, and our own AD had to make trips back and forth between Assumption and West just to pick us up. So we're struggling at West lately with transportation. And like today, soccer had to leave at 2 for a 4:30 game at North. So I just feel like we're missing out on academics is through this transportation, and it's really hard.
Okay. So that doesn't exactly fall under this policy, but I saw the superintendent making some notes in his notebook.
Sorry, I didn't know if like the private transportation went along with us trying to get back to West, just with the parents and everything, because that's what we were told, is that we couldn't ride with anyone else, which just made it a little difficult.
I do think it falls under this policy of getting them to and from.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say the way you describe that now, getting back, that probably would fall under this policy. I think we'll have to do some discussion, because allowing a parent to take a student to school is not the same as allowing a staff member to drive a student in their private vehicle. And we have to make sure that, you know, the people we're allowing our students to get in cars with are, you know, licensed drivers and all that kind of stuff.
So one of the things that we have to remember is that we're talking specifically about this policy, and we're drifting into an area that's not on the agenda. We just have to be very careful of that. And if I may, I would like to comment on that, just so you know that I heard you.
Okay.
So I wrote those transportation issues down. I was not aware of that specific issue, but I am aware that we are extremely short on those drivers, and we're working towards a solution on that.
Okay, awesome. Sorry.
No, you're just
didn't mean to drift.
Your participation has 100% enhanced where we are. Just that's one thing that we have to keep in mind as we're talking about.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think Sarah was just trying to like emphasize that we want to make it as easy. Obviously, nobody really wants to be reliable for someone else's kid in their private vehicle. Nobody really wants to do that, I don't think. But I think that Sarah and I are just trying to say that we want to make it as easy as possible for them, since we are having those issues with the busing entity. So we just want to make sure that it's aware, and that we're trying, like Mr. Schneckmoff said, he's working on it, but just make sure that those situations happen a lot, and kids are missing almost a whole block because of those issues. So we really need to get on that.
Okay. And the policy committee will discuss whether there's anything that would fit into this policy that describes those situations as well. So thank you for bringing it up. Director Gordon?
Can you please clarify? So the first sentence here just says, generally transporting students for school purposes is done in a vehicle owned by the school district and driven by a school bus driver. But then nowhere else in the policy does it clarify whether or not this policy is talking about district-owned vehicles or buses. It just says private vehicles for school purposes, which, if that's what I interpreted that to be, which does, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the wording needs to be much more specific because I'm confused reading it, so.
Okay. We'll take this one back for discussion with the policy committee, if that works for you guys.
Yeah.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yeah.
Good. Director Postron? You okay with that? Potts? Hayes? Gosa? You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll bring that one back to the policy committee and move on. So our next one is policy 905.01, community use of school district facilities and equipment. And that one, we have made quite a few changes here because we need it to follow our practice. And what we do. And so the main difference is the fact that the ICN or the network doesn't actually, that Iowa network doesn't really exist anymore. So we don't have to worry about that. And the language we put in was basically about who to contact in order to use facilities, and then paying for district employees' hours to be there to unlock the door or, allow access to facilities. Director Potts.
We don't have an Achievement Service Center.
Isn't that
We
this
sold
building?
Apartments across the street.
That's the name of this building now, though, I think.
We don't call this that. This is the J.B. Young thing, right?
Brenda?
No, officially, this is the Achievement Service Center, and J.B. Young Opportunity Center is a part of that. This is the
I didn't know the building had two names.
Apparently it does.
We're a bipolar group.
I think if the acronym I hear is JBY, JB.
ASC at JBY.
Yeah, that's all we need, more acronyms. That's exactly.
Anything else? Okay. All right, we'll bring that one for second discussion next time. Then,
Or Director Beck, I do.
yeah, go ahead, Director.
I was just reading, such use will be permitted only when the use does not interfere with or disrupt the education program or school-related activity. The use is consistent with state law and will end no later than midnight. So for traveling, like show choirs and bands and stuff that are coming back and waiting to be picked up after midnight, because some of those things they get back late, does that violate this policy then?
If you, do they go in the building or are they just waiting?
I don't know.
In those instances, typically the instructor has a key to go in, and those buildings are usually at our high schools, which are, people are there around the clock, almost around the clock. So I would say that we're still good in this instance.
Okay.
Yeah, he got it.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else? Okay. All right, our next one is policy 905.02, and the title is written Tobacco Nicotine-Free Environment, but I think yeah, that's awkward, but actually we're proposing that it be changed to include vaping. So this is, did I skip one? No, I don't think so. Okay. Nope, I didn't. Okay. Because this is sort of a standard policy that everybody has, that our campuses are tobacco and nicotine free, and school vehicles and facilities and grounds, and extends to students, employees, and visitors. But it does not clearly cover vaping, and so the policy committee put in that language as well. Okay. We'll bring that one for second discussion as well. 905.3 is a very standard policy that fits with Iowa law that no weapons, dangerous objects, or lookalikes are allowed to be carried. There is a separate weapons policy under student conduct that we haven't actually reviewed and approved yet, but this applies to anyone, so not just students, anyone who comes on campus with or on a school property or school district facility with a weapon, object, or lookalike. And I think that, and it gives the superintendent the right to make exemptions for certain things like our corrections officers and people doing shooting sports, things like that. All right. Our last one is policy 907, district operation during public emergencies. And this one is not showing up on my screen for some reason. Is basically the how we're going to handle the district in times of a public emergency declared by federal, state, or local officials. So, questions? Superintendent Schneckloth, you look like you want to say something.
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. Then that's it for first discussion, and we'll bring these up for, yeah. So there's only two policies for second discussion. The first one is the regular meeting time. We came up with sort of the type of, the most language we could come up with that sort of gives us the freedom to adjust our the number of meetings we have per month. So basically when we set the times for the regular meetings, and that we generally hold them on the second and fourth Mondays of each month, that we will begin promptly at 5:30 p.m. and we adhere to this meeting date and time unless the board requires additional meetings or we have to change it for some reason. We will do that in accordance with law. Any discussion? All right, so that one will come up for a vote with this language next time. And then policy 402.12, this is our release from contract language, and the only adjustment we made based on the last discussion was June 15th, but I'm not seeing the corrected language in here actually. Right? It should say June 15th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're asking that
It's two places.
Pardon?
It's in the third paragraph. as
Yeah,
well.
the end of the third paragraph should say June 15th instead of June 30th. And since we're getting our contracts out early, then that's fine. It should work. Or it will work. All right, that's it.
Any additional questions on any of the policies? If not, and you think of something afterwards, please contact Director Beck so that can go back to the policy committee and be ready to vote on that on April 25th. Are there any administrative reports?
None at this time.
Any board reports? We have one board report from Director Potts, date of the request, April 11th, an agenda item, and he would like a presentation, discussion of the additions and deletions from the intermediate course offerings for the 22-23 school year. Why are you making this request? I'm concerned that we may be cutting out courses of study and electives to the detriment of our students. Would you like this agenda for the 25th meeting? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, it has been moved and seconded by President Gosa. And that will go to the Agenda Committee. Any others? Okay, seeing as none, we'll move on to reflections. We'll start with President Gosa now, since you're always last.
I don't know what to say. I thought it was a lot of good highlights tonight. I appreciated the discussion, and I always love hearing from Miss Vera Kelly. I see she shows up when I'm not in attendance, so I don't get a picture, but it is what it is. So that is my reflection for tonight, Vice President Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Gordon.
I really enjoyed the winter sports presentation tonight, and seeing so many familiar faces from my time in the district. It was really awesome to see how successful some of these kids are and how much they're enjoying the things that bring them life. And I really, really loved hearing especially about the dance team with the really high GPA. That's so impressive.
Director Potts.
Yeah, I enjoyed the presentation on our sports teams. That's very important. It's an important aspect of our schools. And my second positive reflection is, look at the time, folks. We're going to get to go home.
It's still sunny outside, Bruce.
It's still daylight. My dogs won't know what to do.
You want to stay later? Director Klein Jerome.
Is that because President Gosa's not here, we're getting done early? Let's think about this. I am glad to see the Growing Excellence Awards are coming back. I think recognition for, and it's not just for volunteers, it could be staff, students. I think that's important. I also like the fact that transporting in private vehicles, when I sat on the policy committee and looked at this, I'm thinking of, okay, I'm as a teacher or principal, I have to go pick up a student and bring them to school. Never thought about the whole issue with the sports, so I appreciate that you brought that to our attention.
Director Poston.
Well, for me, it had to be the all the kids here for the winter sports recognitions. Again, these kids are going to be way ahead of the curve, just like our board members, you know, participating in all these board meetings. And I would hope in the future that we can get even more kids to participate in extracurricular activities. I think it's so important, and it's just going to make them a more well-rounded person as they grow older and make their way in life.
Director Beck.
So the winter sports celebration, of course, was fantastic. I also wanted to appreciate the student board members bringing things to our attention because, like Director Klein Jerome, I see it from my perspective, but it didn't occur to me either that this might, you know, these policies have other implications. I mean, it occurs to me, but it's nice to hear from you guys to know exactly what that means. And that you bring it to our attention. And then my other reflection is that we renewed our IASB membership on the consent agenda, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, good point.
Superintendent Snecklau.
Seeing the students' faces from the winter athletic celebration, I could see many of them competing at the arena in Des Moines, and they're just outstanding. And they rep when they're out in the community when they're competing. They are representing us so well, and I'm so incredibly proud of that. And then I think the other celebration I have is that I think about the very difficult, tough times that we've come through over the last 3 years, and it's almost an impossible task that can't be done by the school district alone. And incredible partners like the Kelly family coming today, showing your support. We were on an NAACP meeting a week ago where we brainstormed ways to mediate some of the biggest. We shared data with Ms. Vera and her team, and we have action steps to plan that are going to begin very soon. And when I reflect back on the last 2 years, there are lots of community partners like yourself. Vice President of the NAACP that came and spoke to us tonight, Ms. Vera Kelly. And that is incredibly important to us. And we are going to continue to work hard. We are going to continue to meet and share and be transparent. I love that word. Nice job. And then third thing, I think about the people have talked about our student board members. I think about the process that allowed that to. We've had student board members for a long time, but they were not asked. They were not onboarded. And I think about the process that the school board utilized to onboard student board members to share what they're bringing from the school district. And I think that they're outstanding and do bring a great perspective. But I also don't want to forget about the why they're here, the system that this board put in place to onboard, to get student board members here and to onboard them effectively. So it is very important that they share their voice in the appropriate way in terms of Robert's rules. And so I'm incredibly proud of that process because it didn't happen by accident. Now we happen to have best student school board members in the state.
Sure. For sure. I have several things, but one thing that I was going to comment on, Dr. Beck took that with the ISB because the board has come so far with the assistance of the ISB. If it weren't for them, who knows where we would be now with the extra training, the extra advice, and everything they provided for us over these past 3 years has been credible. We, as a board, received the award as a group when we were in Des Moines at this convention, and that was thanks to the ISB. I like the way the student board members volunteer information that we wouldn't normally think of from your perspective, and I thank them for being so involved because we've had board members, student board members for quite some time, and I think you all are probably the most vocal group that we've had. And thank you for that. Not taking anything away from the others, but you're very vocal and you have a lot of important information that you add. And I too enjoyed the winter sports as well. So if there's nothing else.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I call this meeting.
Aye.
You got in just before we closed out.
You guys forgot about us. That is sad. That is so sad. So sad.
Well, we're busy celebrating you.
So I'm gonna ask him if he's gonna get on for it.